Level 1. The harsh financial reality of 2026. Let us start by confronting a simple, uncomfortable truth. Over the last decade, home prices in America have completely detached from average wages. Between 2016 and 2026, the typical home value in the United States grew by roughly 81%, while average wages grew by only about 47% over the same period. Homes became significantly more expensive, but the money we earned to buy them did not keep pace. Let's look at a quick snapshot of where the market stands today. The average home price in the U.S. is approximately $398,771. The typical 30-year fixed mortgage rate is sitting right around 6.5%. Meanwhile, even individuals earning a $100,000 salary report feeling financially squeezed because of persistent, everyday inflation. If you decide to buy a $400,000 home today and put down a standard 20% down payment, your financial layout looks like this. Your down payment is $80,000. Your loan amount is $320,000. At a 6.5% interest rate, your monthly payment for just principal and interest comes out to approximately $2,022. But that is not the actual cost of living in that house. That is just the baseline payment to the bank. When you add property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, and potential homeowners association fees, the real monthly cost climbs significantly higher. In contrast, the national average rent in the United States today sits at approximately $1,965. In many major metropolitan areas, renting a home is now vastly cheaper on a monthly basis than buying that same home. When renting is mathematically cheaper than buying in more than half of the nation's largest metro areas, we have to pause and re-examine the traditional logic of homeownership. Level 2. The mortgage rate trap and golden handcuffs. This brings us to our second level, the mortgage rate trap and the phenomenon known as golden handcuffs. A common assumption in economics is that when interest rates rise, demand cools off, and home prices naturally fall to meet that lower demand. This is the basic law of supply and demand. But why hasn't that happened? Why are home prices still so incredibly high? The answer lies in the golden handcuffs effect. During the historic lows of 2020 and 2021, millions of American homeowners secured or refinanced their mortgages at interest rates of 3% or even lower. Today, those homeowners are sitting on incredibly cheap debt. If they decide to sell their current home to move into a new one, they would have to give up their 3% rate and take on a new mortgage at roughly 6.5%. To put that in perspective, if someone sells a $300,000 home with a 3% mortgage to buy an identically priced home at a 6.5% rate, their monthly payment would jump by $600 to $800 a year, purely because of the interest rate change. Because of this massive financial penalty, existing homeowners are refusing to sell. They are holding on to their homes, which has caused the supply of existing homes on the market to plummet to historic lows. When there are very few homes available for sale, prices remain high regardless of how many buyers are priced out of the market. We are trapped in a gridlock where high interest rates and high home prices coexist because supply is artificially choked off by the golden handcuffs effect. Level 3. Now let us address the most common emotional argument against renting. The belief that renting is throwing your money away while buying a home builds equity. To evaluate this objectively, we have to look at unrecoverable costs. These are the expenses associated with housing that do not build equity, do not pay down your principal balance, and represent money that is gone forever. Both renting and buying have unrecoverable costs, but the ones associated with buying are often completely ignored. First, let's look at mortgage interest. When you take out a 30-year loan, the payments you make during the first 10 to 15 years are heavily front-loaded with interest. If you have a $320,000 loan at 6.5%, you will pay over $20,000 in interest alone in your very first year. None of that money goes toward owning more of your home. It goes directly to the bank. Second, consider property taxes. No matter how much of your home you own, you must pay annual property taxes to the local government. In many states, this amounts to 1% to 2% of the home's value every year. On a $400,000 home, that equates to $4,000 to $8,000 annually, or roughly $350 to $650 every single month. This money is entirely unrecoverable. Third is homeowners insurance. Due to rising climate risks and localized natural disasters, homeowners insurance premiums have surged over the past few years. A typical premium can easily cost $150 to $300 a month. Fourth are homeowners association, or HOA, fees. If you buy a condo or a home in a planned subdivision, you are often required to pay a monthly HOA fee ranging from $100 to $500. This money covers communal maintenance but does nothing to build your personal wealth. Finally, there is maintenance and repairs. When you rent and the HVAC system breaks, the landlord pays to fix it. When you own the home, that cost is yours. Financial experts generally recommend budgeting at least 1% of the home's value annually for maintenance. On a $400,000 home, that is an average of $4,000 a year, or $330 a month. Let's compare the math. If you rent a home for $2,000 a month, your unrecoverable cost is exactly $2,000. But if you buy a $400,000 home, your monthly unrecoverable costs look like this: approximately $1,730 in interest during the early years, $350 in property taxes, $200 in insurance, and $330 in maintenance. That brings your total unrecoverable costs as a homeowner to roughly $2,600 every single month. When you buy, you are actually paying more money that you will never see again than you would as a tenant. Level 4. Case Study. Randy the Renter versus Heather the Homeowner. To see how this plays out in real life, let us walk through a comparative case study between two fictional individuals, Randy the Renter and Heather the Homeowner. Both Randy and Heather have saved $100,000 in cash. They live in the same metropolitan area, where a typical home costs $400,000 and rents for $2,000 a month. Heather decides to buy. She uses $80,000 of her savings for a 20% down payment. She spends the remaining $20,000 on closing costs, moving expenses, and minor initial repairs. Her cash savings are now completely depleted. Her total monthly housing cost, including mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance, comes out to $3,200 a month. Because of this high monthly obligation, she has very little money left over to save or invest at the end of each month. Randy decides to rent. He signs a lease for an equivalent property at $2,000 a month. Because he didn't buy a home, he keeps his $100,000 in cash. Instead of letting it sit in a basic bank account, he invests the entire amount into a low-cost, diversified index fund tracking the SP 500. Furthermore, because his rent is $1,200 cheaper than Heather's monthly housing costs, Randy commits to investing that $1,200 difference into his index fund every single month. Now let's project their financial positions 10 years into the future. We will assume the real estate market grows at a historical average of 3% per year, and the stock market returns an average of 9% per year. After 10 years, Heather's home value will have grown to approximately $537,000. After accounting for the principal she has paid down, but subtracting the thousands of dollars she spent on interest, property taxes, and home maintenance, her total net worth and home equity will sit at roughly $260,000. This wealth is locked entirely in her physical house. Meanwhile, Randy's initial $100,000 investment will have grown to about $236,000. The $1,200 he invested monthly will have accumulated to roughly $230,000. This brings Randy's total net worth to approximately $466,000, all of which is held in highly liquid, easily accessible investments. In this scenario, Randy builds significantly more wealth simply by renting and investing the difference. Renting is only a financial loss if you do not actively invest the money you save by choosing not to buy. Level 5. Will home prices ever crash? The supply-demand gridlock. This leads us to our next level. Will home prices ever actually drop? The short answer is that a major 2008-style housing crash is highly unlikely to happen anytime soon. The conditions of the market today are fundamentally different from the subprime mortgage crisis. Lending standards are exceptionally strict, buyers have higher credit profiles, and current homeowners are sitting on record amounts of home equity, meaning mass foreclosures are highly improbable. However, major financial forecasting from institutions like J.P. Morgan indicates that we are entering a period of prolonged stagnation. On a national level, home price growth has essentially flattened towards 0%. While we are seeing modest price corrections in previously overvalued regions like parts of the Sun Belt and the West Coast due to a slight uptick in local construction, other regions remain locked in tight inventory cycles. The reality is that home prices are not going to fall dramatically, but they are also not going to experience rapid growth. When home price appreciation stalls while interest rates remain high, borrowing money at 6.5% to buy a stagnant asset becomes an incredibly difficult financial proposition to justify. Level 6. Opportunity cost and designing for flexibility. Beyond the strict financial calculations, there is a lifestyle component that we must consider: opportunity cost and personal flexibility. The modern workforce values mobility. The average professional changes jobs multiple times throughout their career, and the rise of remote and hybrid work models has made it possible to live almost anywhere. In this kind of environment, flexibility is a massive financial advantage. As a renter, if you receive a job offer in a different city with a $30,000 salary increase, you can simply wait for your lease to end, pack your bags, and move. Your transaction costs are virtually zero. As a homeowner, you are anchored to a physical location. Selling a home is a slow, stressful process that typically costs around 6% of the home's value in agent fees and closing costs. On a $400,000 home, that represents $24,000 lost just to exit the investment. Furthermore, homeownership requires a massive commitment of non-financial resources, specifically your time and mental energy. Dealing with home maintenance, managing contractors, and resolving HOA disputes can drain your productivity. Renting simplifies your life, freeing up your time to focus on career growth, side businesses, or personal experiences. In today's economy, time and mental clarity are highly valuable currencies. Conclusion: the 2026 Housing Playbook. To wrap up, what is the ultimate takeaway? Does this mean you should never buy a home? No, it does not. Buying a home can still be a deeply rewarding personal decision and a stable long-term anchor, but only if you meet a specific set of criteria. First, you should apply the 5-year rule. Are you absolutely certain that you want to live in that specific home, in that specific neighborhood, for at least 5 to 7 years? If the answer is no, renting is almost always the better option. Second, check your liquidity. Do you have a full 20% down payment plus an additional 6-month emergency fund completely untouched? If buying a home completely empties your bank account, you are putting yourself at immense financial risk. Third, evaluate the local price-to-rent ratio. Is the monthly cost of owning a home in your specific zip code reasonably close to the cost of renting an equivalent property? If renting is significantly cheaper, do not let societal pressure force you into a bad financial deal. If you cannot meet these criteria in today's market, do not feel pressured. Choosing to rent is not a sign of financial failure. In the current economic environment, renting and investing the difference is a highly calculated, intelligent path to financial independence. Keep your capital liquid, focus on career growth, and wait for the market to align with your personal financial goals. Thank you for listening and keep building your wealth strategically.